Hello, it's Scott Manley here.
Okay,
That's what you need first.
that's you need first. So the first question, and honestly, it has to be the first question. It's from someone from your community, from your Discord, from Wicked No Roaster. How was your day? Let's say.
How was my day?
Yesterday. And did you fly safe?
I did. I have fly safe. I did not fly safe because I didn't fly yesterday, but I stayed safe.
Okay.
I did do some flying relevant stuff because we're looking at buying a plane, but also we're expecting a lot of world leaders to come into San Francisco tomorrow for the Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit. And I've been setting up all sorts of new like transponder stuff to track aircraft because I'm really interested in what the F-35s and F-16s are going to be doing for enforcing the airspace. So that's what I was sort of doing yesterday. I look forward to the results, and I hope that we don't have anyone violating NOTAMs. Actually, I do hope that. I don't want anyone to, but I hope I catch someone doing it.
Is this really an issue?
The last time the president was here, we had 3 different people intercepted for accidentally violating airspace.
Okay. I just want to make sure I still record you. Okay, I still have that. Okay. It's good. So now the next question. Be careful. There's a lot of questions, and some of them are you know your community. Some of them are from Runway Project. So you could have some strange questions. Okay. So first, let's start. First one. What brought you into explaining science stuff?
What brought me into explaining science stuff was pretty much when I did my postgraduate work. I think I was just always the person who would volunteer to give talks. Because before that, I was actually really interested in acting and stuff. And DJing. I was always the person at the party playing the records. Yeah. So when I was in doing science, I was always the person volunteering to give talks. And so I guess I just naturally got good at it. But that was a long time before YouTube entered my life. And suddenly I found that people were really interested when I talked about Kerbal Space Program and actually explained the science at the same time. So it was a sort of series of coincidences and a slow meandering into explaining science rather than a decision that I took at any point in my life.
That's good. Okay. So after this first question, which was a trap, but it was not at all a trap. The context a little bit. So the event happens in the Polytechnic Institute in France, and there is a Friday, which is a kind of job fair. You have ESA, you have all the big actors trying to find the good engineers. And Saturday 10 a.m. to Sunday 10 a.m. There is what they call the Hackaton, which is actually a mission.
The Hackathon.
But even me, I have only 1,500 hours on KSP, and I can do it. The idea was deep space. It was how to get more than 10 tons to Mars and back.
Out the ways in Kerbal Space Program, right?
In KSP1. KSP1.
Yes.
Yeah. And there's 24 teams in teams of two. So we have a very large LAN stuff. It's in the illustrious Poincaré Amphitheatre in Paris, association called KSC, which please say hi to KSC. They will be so.
Hello to KSC.
Yeah, it's the French association where we try to promote science careers at any age via gaming. So, my question is, Yeah, it's an easy question. How do you think gaming can help people get into science?
I think gaming is really experiential learning, but you don't need to experience the real thing. The wonderful thing about Kerbal Space Program as an educational tool is you can build and you can experiment and you can fail and have fun and go back and learn. Whereas if you're failing with real hardware, it's a bit harder. It's a bit more expensive. I think that Kerbal Space Program is a fantastic learning system because it just simply gave you a sandbox with the laws of physics and then put some exciting stuff in it like planes and wings and rockets. The thing is, it's harder to find games that do quite as well as Kerbal Space Program in teaching things. There's certainly programming games that taught me a lot, things like Engine IO and TIS 100. I haven't seen similar things for biology or chemistry, but I'm sure that one day we will get something where people can just, pile their favorite chemicals together and watch them explode in color. Wouldn't that be a fun thing to teach? It's really down to somebody finding the sort of interesting niche. Actually, another style of game, which I thought was a great introduction, was the bridge building games, which started out with Bridge Builder, and now we have Polybridge with like cool cartoon, and they actually do teach really good engineering principles.
I just put my hand for because I'm going editing tomorrow, so I will put the bridge program.
Yeah, great. Okay. Fantastic.
So I put it as a thread, like, for example, if you want to ask a question to Scott for the interview for the KSC event, say, "Hi, Scott," and every "Hi, Scott," dash, how are you, for example. That's an example of question. And so I had 100 of "Hi, Scott." So the next one is "Hi, Scott, what's the most nerdish, you see, nerdish game you ever experienced that is correct on the science path?" I remember something about the fabrication of a nuclear weapon on a game.
Oh, right, yeah. No, I remember, yes.
Tell me
Children of the Dead Earth.
Your ID.
Yeah, no, but I think Children of the Dead Earth really is a sort of fascinating thing where the game was actually kind of lousy, but the fact that the developer just put in every single piece of physics that they knew. And so, yes, you could go in and design the nuclear weapon. You could design the thicknesses of the explosive, the tamper, then, your fissile material, your fusion boosting. Then you could stick this on a warhead, a missile, and you had to design the missile with the fuel tank sizes and the guidance system. And you could build a bunch of wild and crazy things. And because you could do that, you could basically come up with something that would absolutely destroy the enemy because people are endlessly inventive. But I thought it was wonderful because you had that and you also had orbital mechanics. But I think the nerdiest game that I've seen that isn't necessarily physically correct was when Zachtronics decided to do a game that's centered around assembly language. And nobody asked for that.
I saw it.
But it was great.
Hi, Scott, again. How many you were a consultant for some movies?
Yeah.
And
I was a consultant.
For which and what did you learn from it?
Okay, so I've been consultant to creative writing in a couple of ways. First of all, most recently I worked with Joe Pena on it was called Stowaway. Oh yeah, and yes, and so it did have
with
the two lobes, yes, and and this was an interesting thing that he actually wrote this before Arctic. And he'd consulted with a bunch of astronomers, and somehow he ended up coming to me at one point. And I basically built it in Kerbal Space Program in 5 minutes and sent it back to him. And he was like, "Wait, we were going to pay, like visual artists to come up with renderings." It's like, yeah, but I just built it in Kerbal Space Program. And so, that was interesting because there was a lot. I got a very, very early version of the script. There was a lot of things that changed about that script, and there's a few ideas that I got into the movie that I was really happy about. And at the same time, I realized they were making a movie, and so I said, "Look, we're going to have this scene where the sun is having a solar event, and the audience is going to want to see something. So look, you don't." It's not physically correct to see radiation flying through space, but we can imagine that the space station has this magnetic field. It's an artificial plasma, magnetosphere, and that could make the radiation visible. So just say that they've got that, and then you can have your visual graphics people, do stuff. Another thing that I worked on as a consultant was Anne McCaffrey's novel, The Skies of Fern.
It was my. I was a teenager when I was reading that, and we are the same age.
Yeah. So she was in Ireland and had asked around local science fiction clubs, and somehow somebody there knew me and knew that I had been working on asteroid impacts and killer asteroids. So we ended up talking, and she showed me a little bit of the text, and I immediately took what was in the text and plotted the orbit for this comet which would come down. Actually, at that time, it was an asteroid, but then I explained, no, we really want to have a comet because it will be so much more visual. You have these meteor showers. It'll be beautiful. And so that's what ended up in the final book. And it was fine. She sent me copy number 2, bound in leather and signed. It's very nice. And all these Pern books that I have in the backdrop actually are signed by her because she just sent me a big box with all her books.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
I have to read it.
Yeah, there's a few other cases where I've answered questions. And honestly, the worst thing is to go and see a film and see something really obvious that they could have fixed and say, I wish they'd asked me because I would have told them how to do that slightly better.
There is a question. Please be patient. There is a question for that. So, hi Scott again. What video of that you made are you the most proud of?
I think honestly, the most video I'm most proud of is the one that I started out with very early on. It's the discovery of asteroids. Because I had this idea to illustrate just how many asteroids.
Ring of asteroids.
Viewing down, and more importantly, as they're discovered in time, they appear as little flashes. Oh. And that, not only is this being used by lots of other people, just the idea of being able to see how asteroid discoveries are distributed really sort of informed so many discussions on how we deal with potential asteroid hazard. And the fact that you can see that certain regions of the solar system are easier to discover, like opposite the sun, because obviously you're not looking into the sun.
Yeah.
But it just got used by a lot of people working in the field, and ended up getting in touch with some people called the B612 Foundation, who, I now sort of, I'm an official hanger-on. I think they call me a consultant, but yeah, I like to think of it as a hanger-on.
The fact that there's so many, actually. So
yeah.
When people say about asteroid Rama, it's Rama. It's Arthur C. Clarke.
Arthur C. Clarke, yeah.
Yeah, if you have, there is the whole thing starts with an asteroid coming on Rome.
Yeah, and they have these.
So they decide to go on
deep space.
Yeah.
Deep space radars powered by nuclear weapons, I remember.
Yes, and they detect this thing, and then the story goes. Rendezvous with Rama in English. Arthur C. Clarke is great because it starts with that.
Yeah.
There's an asteroid, and then people decide to react. Okay. Hi Scott, what video took you the most research?
The one that actually ended up taking the most research was my series on nuclear weapons design.
Yeah, yes.
Because I started out, it's like, I know all about it. I literally remember posting on Twitter saying, all these politicians talking about nuclear weapons in North Korea, they got it all wrong. I'm going to go and make a video and explain exactly how they work. And I thought it would be a 15-minute video. And then, of course, I was like, I better check that I know what I'm talking about. And boy, there was a lot to read, but what's more interesting is there's a lot of speculation because, of course, the real details aren't necessarily out there. And I had to go into sources on other languages. And it turns out, some of the best videos of implosion systems are from France.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I got the neutron. The neutron generator. I got it from a French paper. But okay.
Yeah. So, yeah. So that took me the most time, I think.
Okay, that's good. What skill? I'm not talking about math or physics, or I'm not talking about something like that. But what would you recommend to get at a young age to stay in the focus? At a young age to get into scientific careers. What is the skill? I'm not talking about being good at math. I'm talking about skill.
Yeah. I think the skill is choosing to play around with physical things and build things. Like build Lego is a great place to start, but then take it and learn some Arduino hacking, hands-on physical skills, doing things, drawing 3-dimensional objects, just doing, right? Whatever you do, don't do nothing. Is what I like to say.
I like it.
Which I'm sure that translates into French, right?
Yeah. That will. Someone from the community, from Melody Mochu, which I salute. She has.
I need to record a video for her husband.
Sorry. Okay. Where is the best place to start when learning about space? I want to learn, but the hobby is intimidating.
Wow. I would start on the internet by asking a question, and then just ask a question to Google, and then follow the answer. And then there will be things that aren't answered, and then ask more questions. I don't know what NASA actually has some really good articles on basic, rocket performance. It has some great academic stuff. There's plenty of free publications that actually teach like astronomy, and plenty of free books at NASA just teaching the history of various projects. But it depends on what you want to learn, to be honest. But again, it's like whatever you do, like just keep doing it. I'm so far away from when I started that all the sources have changed.
Yeah. Okay. What do you think could be the? So it's from the Space Warlock, another person from the community. Hi Scott. What do you think could be the most important upcoming technological developments for space explorations within the next decades? So we're on futurism. Okay. I told you it's unsorted.
Well, by the time you're broadcasting this, we may or may not have had a flight of Starship. Which, look, I think that in a basic, it's Friday.
Oh, okay. So, the flight is Saturday. So okay.
So there's right. And look, that is a basic fundamental thing. You don't need to be a futurist to realize that having a fully reusable launch system by anybody is a really useful thing to have around. But I mean, beyond that, there's basic technologies which we still need to figure out. Nuclear reactors in space, nuclear thrusters. The Draco system is possibly going to get tested in the next decade. We're going to have some really cool missions like Dragonfly, which is going to be a drone that will fly around on Titan. That'll be like the next level. We don't need rovers anymore. We're going to have flying rovers. Obviously, it doesn't work so well on Mars, but yeah, these are all different approaches to different space technologies. And really, I think perhaps what will be the most important is if we get commercial space stations that are much more accepting to the public, because in commercial world, you'll have more desire to bring the costs down and make them more accessible so they can expand their market. And so I think it could just simply be that 20, 30 years from now that you can actually go to the hotel for a reasonable cost in orbit.
I would do that. Okay. There's a question about which is a two-way question. In your view, the importance of I would say so two things. First, explain me why the explosion of science YouTubers, streamers, content creators, people on internet who are talking about science, and how, in your view, is this important?
Well, I think it's just that YouTube makes the content more easy to find, and they're just the people. I didn't start out teaching science on YouTube. Well, technically I did, but I didn't get famous for it. I got Kerbal Space Program, and then that sort of came back into science eventually. I think that just there's a lot of people that have stories to tell, and we've sort of reached the critical mass where, if you have a really good piece of content, it will get recommended by the people that drive views. And I think that just the science YouTubers are sort of naturally inquisitive, and they are going to happily go down and look at some video by 300 people.
There's so many more.
There's so many of them, yeah. And they're not all popular. There's some great ones that have tiny numbers of views. I remember watching one about how aircraft beacons and VORs worked, and the person had 300 subscribers. It was the best thing. It had every single thing that I wanted, and so it's just. I think there's just the ones that are good.
If you remember his name, his or her name, that's.
I will share it in Discord.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that it's just proven that there's an audience there, and it's very obvious that there's a love that's there. People are coming back and saying nice things. I don't know what's driving it, but I'm glad that it's there.
So I like to talk about the human experience also. So what was to you you interviewed so many astronauts, you visited so many facilities. What was for you the most mind-blowing visit you did? The
most mind-blowing thing that I've ever done was when I flew out with the Asteroid Institute and B6 Well Foundation to Meteor Crater in Arizona, and I got to hike inside it, because very few people, pretty much you have to be geologists.
Sorry, say again.
I had a bunch of things, but I walked inside this crater with astronauts and scientists, and we really got to experience the scale of this. It's not the biggest crater, but it's the most perfectly preserved crater in the world. And being on the bottom and looking up and realizing that this whole thing formed in seconds was an incredibly powerful and humbling experience.
So I think some guy tried for decades to mine one of those craters, looking for.
That's right. That's the one, the Barringer crater. The mining works are in the bottom of the crater still, but, because they're too heavy.
Everything actually evaporated, and there was nothing at bottom.
The forces that occur during an asteroid impact of a solid iron meteorite that is tens of thousands of tons, maybe 100,000 tons even, just vaporizes it and spreads it across the countryside. And you can find little bits of this all around, but there's almost none in the crater itself.
Okay. Hi, Scott, again. Do you plan to look for other fields than space and nuclear weapons after what you're doing right now, and software?
Oh my God. I'm always looking at new stuff. Like, I have a subscription to Science Magazine, and I'm constantly seeing chemical,
geology,
solar cell Perscovites, and genetics, protein folding. All this stuff fascinates me, okay. But I realize I'm barely scratching the surface on all of this. The problem is that YouTube is very sensitive to subject matter, and it's quite easy to have a huge audience for views about space, but when I do stuff about flying aircraft, I lose most of my viewers, and they only get the hardcore.
We all look. Hi, Scott. So this you might think where it comes from. It's not from me, but tell us about Runway Project, and I mean a big P at project.
The Runway Project, yes. It is. Well, it is a competitive game show where entrants are given a theme and have to build an aircraft with guns and weapons. And then they are unleashed in a giant Thunderdome-style arena, operated via AI. And we then watch the fights that unfold. And we not only judge these aircraft by their success in the arena, but by how cool they look and how well they accommodate the theme. Sometimes, for example, we've said, okay, you're allowed one engine, but you can't turn it off and it's really powerful. Or you're going to have big engines and small guns. We do things like that. It's been a lot of fun. And I think we're up to 60 episodes, 60 rounds. Yeah.
I admit. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, this one is pretty good. In rough estimate, how many Kerbals have you killed?
Well, I've had glitches where the entire planet Kerbin has been destroyed and vaporized from the game. So that's the entire population of Kerbin, which, based on the amount of land and stuff, that's like 5 Kerbals. So no. Yes, we're definitely into the thousands, but I'm pretty good at bringing them back alive.
I'm pretty sure you're way above that, because when I started the Runway project, I sent some. Sorry, I don't want to get you late.
I didn't kill them because you ran that simulation.
Yeah, true. Okay, I ran the simulations. No, but I was sharing. I don't know. My game is lagging to people like Doc Nappers, and which you know. And they say your archive of the graveyard was 3 megabytes. I was okay. Important question. You've been doing videos, and you have a day job. During all those years, what kept you motivated? There must. Sometimes you may be less motivated or whatever, but you kept going on. So
I think there's always new things I find and get excited about. And it is absolutely true that I will frequently wake up and I don't want to do the video on this specific subject. I want to do a video about planes, but no one will watch that. I need to find a video about something else. And what keeps me motivated is literally the people that send me messages saying, I've learned so much, I am now doing degrees in physics and astronomy, or I'm just now working in the space. That is what motivates me most.
I have a question.
Yeah.
No, sorry, I don't want to interrupt you. But I have a question which is absolutely related to that. From your answer, how many, did you have people telling you, yes, I went to science thanks to your videos or stuff like that?
Absolutely. No, I've had people. I had one person I remember. He said that he was planning on doing English degree at college, and he says now he's engineering in aerodynamics or whatever. That's quite a transformation. I'm not saying anything bad about studying, arts and literature at college, because I love arts and literature.
Tell me you are proud about that.
Oh, I'm so proud that people have been able to find things that become their passion and shape their life.
That's good. There's a question which is a little bit more, I don't know, edgy or what, but for example, if I take Runway Project, you have a big part which is art. And I know you have a past in being a DG.
Yeah.
And
love the tunes.
And my experience from being a scientist myself is that I found, for example, the best pianists, the best people at piano were mathematicians. And do you see a link on I mean, is art just for this competition, which actually for this event we can completely ignore, but for a runway project, the fact that there is art and science, or at least etc. Do you see a link between both art and science?
Well, yeah, I think that there's absolutely a link between art and science, and I think that each informs the other. And there's definitely cases where I've heard of art being inspired by science, and I think the reverse has been true on occasion, where people have heard stuff and it's given them clues, but I can't think of any ideas right now. But with Runway Project, the art thing in particular was very important because it stops the entrance from just going to the most dangerous, world-destroying design. It stops everything evolving into like stacked wings and lots of guns.
But
it means that beauty can win, right? But it was funny, like talking about arts and science. I went to see Queen this week, and of course the guitarist Brian May. He has most famous as a guitarist, but he is also an astronomer. He has PhD in astrophysics, and during his set, he has this whole. Yeah, but he has this whole thing where he rises up and the screen starts projecting asteroids, and he's floating through space with planets and playing his guitar solo. Okay. But the people I went with were special.
Brian May. Oh yeah,
yeah, Brian May. But the people I went with were special.
The Monty Python were all PhD candidates. They met. Yeah, they met all. Okay. So,
but I was going to say, I just want to add one little thing to this. At the end of that concert, I was with some very special people who actually got to go backstage and hang out afterwards. But I turned to the person to my left and I said, "So, Rusty, was that as loud as flying on the Saturn V?"
Oh, okay.
Because we had an Apollo astronaut in the audience next to us.
I guess it was not. So I have a question from. So now, so we are halfway. So when you have to go, you have to go. Huh? But Star Hunter 007, who makes the most crazy videos, is a good friend, and we often make videos together. Scott, do you have any tattoos? And if so,
I do not.
Where and
I do not.
And if you were ever,
neither does my wife.
And if you were ever to get a tattoo, what would you get? And
if I was to get a tattoo, I know exactly what I would get. I would get Adam Savage's measuring ruler that he has on his arm, because it's so practical. It's exactly what I want. But
on the arm. So
yeah. So I find it interesting, however, my daughter, who just turned 18, she already has tattoos. So, okay.
From Melody Mochu, hi Scott, thinking about doing DG stuff again? Maybe producing your own music, drop an album?
Oh man, you know what? I'm encouraging my kids to do that. I have one tune in my head that I will probably put together at some point, but I honestly... The thing about DJing was just that I had a hard time going to parties and not knowing what to talk about or do, or and going to a party to be the DJ meant that I was there for a reason, that I had a job to do, and so it made me feel totally comfortable. But the worst thing is being in a place and not knowing what to do. And it's great now that people know me, because I'll go in and I'll be like, I don't know what I'm doing here. And someone will walk up and say, "Oh, you're Scott Manley. Hi." I'm like, "Oh, yes, now I know what I'm doing here. I'm going to talk to this person."
Okay.
But I've always loved music in so many ways. And the thing about the DJing was that it did give me a way to sort of share really cool and obscure and interesting stuff with an audience.
Don't tell me this has. I mean, there is no link between the Runway Project art part and that.
There's yes. I love my art. I love my music, and I love my science.
Some people did original music. I mean,
yes, there was
playing instruments.
Yeah. Starfish.
I just
There's a starfish waving in the sky.
No, this is great. Yeah, starfish in the sky. Yeah, which is Meta Celsius, with one of.
Yes, it was fabulous, and I think that was one of the rare cases where we gave it 11 points out of 10.
Okay, so this was labeled as the best question, which is the most silly, of course. From Antonio. Hi Scott, I hear you're a space YouTuber. How much space do you have exactly and where do you get it?
This office is 10 feet by 10 feet, so 3 meters by 3 meters by 3 meters. So I've like 27 cubic meters that I work in.
Okay. That's how you became here. Okay.
But I step out the front door and I have, many, many miles, kilometers of trails that I will hike along and listen to podcasts and think about what I'm going to do.
From Nahobino Plushie, okay. Hi Scott, what's one of or a few of your favorite things with the interaction with the spaceflight community?
So some of my favorite things about spaceflight community is, first of all, the amazing people that are traveling all over the world chasing launches and getting photography, which is unique, it's sublime. And obviously we have down in Texas, the Texas Tank Watchers and this whole community that has sprung up just watching this entire project. But just people in China that have gone and got some amazing photography, Europe. And so I think without those people, I would have a lot less to talk about. Because I don't get to go places because I have 2 jobs and a family. You'll notice that I'm not the person going on site a lot of the time, but I am absolutely benefiting and learning from everybody else that is out there on the field that is getting the unique, capturing the unique images that make the world so good. Yeah, that's what's amazing about the spaceflight community.
Okay. So I have a question, but maybe this one you should answer on your own Discord channel. From Melody Mochu, you have really a fan here. Do you have a PO box?
No, I don't.
Sorry,
okay.
and if not, when the fuck will you have one?
Yeah, I should probably figure that
French, out. It's on French.
And Melody Mochu I got something to do for them, for sure.
Okay. What is the worst ever science? I mean, the biggest cringe that you saw in a science fiction or space related, or whatever science piece of art. What?
Okay.
Apart from the Mach 1 in Interstellar.
Yeah. No. The thing that causes me the most The thing that causes me the most cringe is that moment in Gravity, which I love Gravity in so many ways because I love the director, I love his visuals, I love the notion of what he was trying to communicate. But the scene where the 2 of them, they bounce off the International Space Station and she is now hanging there with her foot tangled in the parachutes and he's like, you gotta let me go. And they unhook and let. It's like, that doesn't make any sense.
The mechanics doesn't work. Yeah.
Right, but it would be, the thing is, it's not that the mechanics doesn't work that hurts me. It's they could have made it better by one simple change, and they could have actually just not had her foot hanging on the station. They could have just been floating slowly away. And then it becomes, he unhooks himself and he pushes her back towards the space station. So that's now physically correct, and he's actually being proactive and making a sacrifice and showing action and reaction working correctly, and it would become a vastly better scene and more physically correct.
Could have it be part of the story because he was actually already dead? We are spoiling the movie, so if you didn't see Gravity, it's a great movie, but
it has amazing visuals in it.
Because he comes back from the hatch at some point, and so there is.
He finds a little bit more propellant, right?
So maybe it was a director divergence. Okay, from that's the actually opposite question from Macattack, which is one of your mod. Hi Scott, what is the occasion where you read something in fiction you thought? Or fiction or actually reality, you say no, that's not right, but actually it was right.
Oh, something that I read in fiction that wasn't right, or I didn't believe, and it turns out, oh wow, that's actually a very good question, and I honestly can't think of it. But there's one bit that I read in fiction that has always stuck with me, and that's the idea of there being aliens. If there were aliens, why would they come to a boring planet like Earth?
Yeah.
And the author's idea was, well, Earth is really unique because we have an oxygen, nitrogen atmosphere, nice temperate, weather, perfect for, water-based life forms. And we have a moon that in the sky is almost the same size as the sun. And therefore we have perfect solar eclipses. So if you were a galactic travel agent, you would be selling the aliens on going to Earth to see this. I saw this in a science fiction book, and it's like, that makes total sense. So yes, that is not really science, but it's something that has stuck with me as being a really a great truth about Earth.
At first, you thought it was not right. Or did it?
No, yeah. So this is it's not.
No, the question was something
right.
that you thought it was. No, this is not.
And I don't have an answer for that.
Okay.
I don't have an answer for some. Yeah. So this is a different thing that I saw.
9 p.m. Saturday. How many of your colleagues from your day job are going to watch?
Probably none, because it's going to be in the middle of our work day. And I know that I have a meeting at that time, and I'll be discussing what I'm supposed to. So don't tell them, but I'm going to probably have this up in a little window in the corner.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
It is during daytime in California, so we'll probably be doing other stuff. But it'll be like the last weekend before we all get Thanksgiving week off next week.
Yeah,
so maybe some people will be traveling.
Yeah. And I have a very short question. How do you handle So this is something I'm on your channel. I'm active there. How do you handle I am not at all on the general chat, but how do you handle the general chat when there is a message every half second?
The time I used to get this a lot when I was live streaming, and honestly, I just try to pay attention. With Discord, I have very little time to actually be on there, but when things are very active, it is hard to, especially when you're doing a live stream on YouTube and you've got messages appearing all the time. Just the good ones tend to stand out, and they tend to then lead on. You'll get a lot of variations on the same question. So yeah, it's not something you can easily handle. And equally, if you're trying to tell a story, then maybe you should be focusing on telling the story rather than reacting to the stuff in chat.
You get distracted constantly. That's what you mean?
Yeah. It's very easy. So you got to sort of remain on message. Most of the live streams I've had real traffic with things like building like the Saturn V rocket out of Lego, where that was like a 5-6 hour stream, and we just had constant chatter, and I would be answering stuff about the retro rockets and the stage separation systems, this F1 engines. That was great because thematically
you build stuff with your kids also.
That's totally true.
And thanks to your daughter, because she gave me a 10 out of 10 on art score for my...
Yes, she is a much more art-oriented individual.
Scottish, I made whatever Scottish, and she gave me 10. So thanks to her. And the last question I will have is, that's really a stupid question, but in 10 years, going to space, having 5 billion followers, or just go on and have fun, or I don't know.
Boy, I mean, I would love to go. That's an ambition, to go to space. I don't see that I'm going to be an astronaut anytime soon. I did apply to be an astronaut, and NASA did not reject me for a whole 18 months. So for 18 months, I was an asteroid applicant.
They asked the public, I voted for you. Well, I voted also for some others.
I think actually over the next 10 years, there's a bunch of things I'm going to be doing. I'd really like to say in 10 years' time that I'll have got all my pilot ratings. Yeah, it'd be great if I could fly everything, right?
You're a pilot. You're a pilot.
Like, Sergey Brin is just launching an airship nearby here, so if I can get to fly that would be pretty amazing.
That would be nice. That would be nice.
I
wish you this. So I think I had everything. I had one last question I forgot, but I think I'm getting there. No, it was an honor, sir. I wish you the best. And Sorry, the last question was, what is the astronaut you are the most? I mean, you probably have a hero, and don't tell me Neil Armstrong.
Wow, there's so many.
Neil Armstrong, but then explain me why.
Right. Look, Armstrong was always a hardcore engineering nerd. I like him a lot because he was actually very quiet and modest. I also like Buzz because he sort of heard about space. He was in the military and he decided to start studying something. And literally in his PhD thesis, he says, maybe I can join you guys in space. And he got to join those guys in space, right?
And even in the less known ones, the people who are
right. So, I got to go through this whole. I'm trying to think of the list. I love Samantha Christopher Reddy. I love the fact that she goes up with these costumes and decides to do the zero-G scene.
I don't know. Samantha.
You don't. Samantha. She's Italian. ESA. European Space Agency. She dresses up.
Know all Europe. We are 500 million.
Well, she's been to the space station twice, and she brings up costumes and does famous scenes. She did Star Trek. She did 2001. That alone wins her lots of points for me.
This is okay. Samantha Isaacs. No, astronaut.
Christopher Christoforetti from Italy.
Okay. Cristofori. Okay.
Yes, so I love what she's done recently, just mostly from a sort of outreach thing. Let me see who else.
This is badass. I like that.
Yeah, like you look at any astronauts and you'll find out they are all so many badass. I love, the guy I will regularly talk about because I talk to schools and stuff like that, and there's a lot of kids that are thinking, oh, you're a famous YouTuber. I want to ask you about YouTube. And I tell them this story is saying, listen, if you're going to try to be famous, not everybody gets to be famous. You have to work very hard, right? And you're not guaranteed to be successful. You should always consider your plan Bs. And I tell them about this guy called Leland Melvin. I don't know if you know, Leland Melvin is one of my favorite astronauts because he's got a sort of real positive energy about him. And his astronaut photo with his family is legendary. He has his two big dogs, like on his, around his suit. The thing about Leland Melvin is that he originally went to college on a football scholarship. He was going to be an NFL player.
I tried to interview him because he had an injury, a very bad one also.
He had an injury that he got into the NFL and then he had an injury and he couldn't play and then came back next season and again got injured.
I tried to contact him. Yeah.
Right, and unlike a lot of the other college football players, he had actually really studied the subject that he was there for. He was in engineering, so he went into aerospace engineering, and at some point he crossed over. He became an astronaut, and that is the most amazing plan B to say, I want to be an NFL star, but if that doesn't work out, I'm going to be an astronaut.
Yeah, that's
and we should all be. We should all be trying to be like this, right? Yeah. We should all be thinking, if this amazing thing doesn't work out, what other amazing things can I do? If I can't be famous on YouTube for talking about science, maybe I should just be good at doing science, right?
Exactly. No, that's very good. I actually, I sincerely contacted Leland Melvin because his story, I saw him in A Strange Rock, the documentary on Netflix, which I really enjoyed, to be honest.
Yeah.
And he explained his story, and his story is completely crazy. Huh?
Right.
I have a last question.
And
You know some
another one I
astronauts?
like. Wait, I gotta give a shout out to Don Petit. Don Pettit. He is also one of my favorites. I met him earlier this year, and for me, the more when I talked to him, I just realized that he was truly a hacker at heart. You know, that he was on orbit and he built himself a barn door cracker so that he could get nice long exposure photos of the Earth as it moved underneath him. He did these cool experiments that he just made up on the space station. And he has this, famous story where he almost got crushed by his own camera gear.
You met some astronauts, so yeah, maybe you're not in the position to disclose that, but I know. I mean, my father was a Concorde pilot. I know some astronauts. I mean, I met some astronauts recently, let's say, and everything about aviation and military and not military is also about pranks. So I know one.
Yeah.
I know one which I can disclose because you will be after Nicole sent a fantastic the Batman prank because you stick to the ceiling and you have the newbie, the new guy all lost, and you literally fall on him, and so do you know any prank you can disclose? I have some from every participant. Every participant gave a prank, except Jean-Luc Chrétien, who is a military colonel guy.
This is space pranks, right? Oh.
Pranks.
Yeah.
Moving the guy at night from one room to another, for example.
Oh wow! I'm on the outside, so I guess if you told me about this, I might have been able to think about it. But think about it on the spot. That's pretty hard.
The Batman one is.
Oh no! I actually do know one prank.
The Spider-Man. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's sort of a famous thing. So Rusty Schweiker, who's a friend of mine, was on Apollo 9, and one of the things about Apollo was that they had started bringing consumer devices up, and they brought along these little Sony tape players. They were like the prototype, just before the Walkman, and the idea was they would be able to record notes. But because they had to send them up with cassettes, the astronauts requested to put music on them. And so this became like a tradition to make the tape to bring along with you with the music. Some of these tapes have survived and they're, in museums. So, Rusty was going to be on Apollo 9 with two other guys, Dave Scott, and I forget the other one. But he put together his music tape. It was all going to be his favorite classical music. The other two members were going to have like country and rock music. And when he got to space, his tape disappeared. Like they hid his tape from him for several days until right at the very end. And they were like, oh, hey, found your tape. Because, he was going to listen to this boring classical music from their point of view. So Rusty tells this story about
the Spider-Man prank is pretty good. Honestly,
yeah,
in the
it is.
You just slam on.
So Rusty tells this story. Let me just finish this. He tells the story about how after not being able to find this tape, he finally gets time in the lunar module to listen to his music, and he's staring out the window, and this beautiful classical music wells up, and he's just so overcome with emotion he can't listen to the tape. It's just like such an intense experience, but it's not really a prank.
But I can
story about
spaceflight. I understand that. Those people have But it's funny because in the few interviews I made and the people I pre-interviewed before, you had really the two kinds of astronauts. You had really the dreamers, and you really had the military mission, which are people you can rely on, military.
You can be both, because you just have to mode switch into what's necessary at the right time.
I will cut this on the edit, but.
Have a great one. Fly safe, right?
Thank you very much, and fly safe. Yes, and thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Bye.